Hi, my name is JAYJA, and I wanted to say thank you for 100 subscribers. And for this special event, I wanted to show you a little something I made, a little story about myself from my past. Um, oh fuck! I just realized I misspelled late. That's really funny. While I fix that, I wanted to say, yeah, I wanted to do a little something about like my past and tell you about my past. I called it the JAYJA verse because I thought it was a little funny, but I have to show you. I wanted to show you a little bit like what it's like, what was my past like, and where I come from, basically. And yeah, so we're gonna start here. It's gonna be I was born in 2017, but I my age is 17 years old. I'll show you. Here is a paragraph. Here's a diagram I made. For the years 2017 to 2019, basically what happened in my family. So, at first, my name really wasn't. There wasn't really a JAYJA back then. In the beginning, it really came around in 2019. So here you have Geronimo. Here you have a young Geronimo, and then here you have DJ 1503. And these guys they made unique Ferox, and at some point it became Sprite Cranberry Ferox. Basically, he couldn't survive without anything, so he had to like go and search for food. Basically, you see, and so he got himself a Sprite Cranberry. He remind you, it was 2018, 2019. And there was some big things that happened during those times, and I became JAYJA became a gangster, and that's where he became JAYJA, but with a water bowl yell in front of it because he didn't know what that meant, right? He didn't know what that meant, like being in a gang, but this guy was fucking lonely, you know what I mean? And this guy became J how what's this guy called again? Gang sign JAYJA. Gang sign JAYJA. Fuck, that's not what I meant to do. Gang sign JAYJA made a couple of variants. He thought he was cool, but he clearly wasn't. As you can see, here's Lawnmower JAYJA, really pixelated here. Here I have Panorama JAYJA, I think Panorama JAYJA, I'm sorry. And here you have Selfie JAYJA. Now, Selfie JAYJA was in a silly, goofy mood, and those two I'll get to here. This guy made Wire JAYJA, and then you can see these guys, they made something together, and it's Iced Out JAYJA. Iced Out JAYJA, really nothing happened to him. You can see there's nothing connected to him because the whole race killed themselves because they found out their diamonds was rhinestones. Here JAYJA made another variant here. He made got him JAYJA, looking up from you and shit. You can see how he's blazed. Keep that look in. He realized his joke wasn't funny, and there was Shithead JAYJA because he realized that joke isn't funny anymore. It was Shithead JAYJA, and then he realized I gotta be funnier, right? And so he became Meh JAYJA. Meh JAYJA had a couple of variants too. Here's Bad Bitch JAYJA. This guy wanted to be funny a little bit, so he changed his whole lifestyle. So here's Bad Bitch JAYJA. And they wanted to see like how could they make the funniest thing ever. And so here they made something called Pop Tart JAYJA. Here's Pop Tart JAYJA. Pop Tart JAYJA still doing the got him, which isn't funny, but he forgot about that. He changed. Look at him. He's in a box with a Pop Tart. Sadly, it was raining though, so he had to change before this cardboard box was gonna die out. And so he with this thing and his little carriage over here, he was able to make a little money, right, by his costume. They thought he did like street performances with this costume, and people thought he was like, wow, that's really cool. And so with this money he bought himself some clothes, some good clothes, and some other shoes, and he got Cool JAYJA. Cool JAYJA wasn't really cool, honestly. I mean, look at his phone case. I mean, he knows how. I mean, he kind of like knew how to dress a little bit, but we can all clearly tell that like this shirt is way too short for this guy. And why is he wearing his his big ass headphones at like a fucking shop? What the hell? And then like, as he was making more money, well, this guy was stealing him from him, and he stole the money and everything, and now he became cooler JAYJA. Look at the fit, look at the shoes, man. He's dripped up the wazoo, right? Cooler JAYJA was the peak of existence. But then 2020 came, and he ascended out of here, and he became coolest JAYJA. Coolest JAYJA was one hell of a guy. Even so that this guy came along, called Hot JAYJA. Hot JAYJA and Coolest JAYJA made something. They really worked well together, really. They attracted all the fucking females from around the goddamn world. And the universe too, I mean, look at them go. And those two, they wanted to make those two had a fight at some point, and it went to scratch, and like, this guy's called Ferox. Yeah. At some point those two didn't have that much clout anymore, and they asked their good old buddy Ferox to say, hey buddy, we need your help. Can you do something? He said, all right. But it didn't work because this guy fucking fell off. This guy got sad, and then he became Disappointed JAYJA. And Disappointed JAYJA wanted to get his clout up a little bit, and so he made himself a couple of he created a couple of variants like Tour JAYJA when he was trying to go on tour, and Cute JAYJA, where you can see him in a orange bright hoodie that can and he says he might rob a bank. Now that is totally self-snitching. Now what happened when you self-snitch? Well, pretty much nothing, right? You see, this guy, he seems a little cool, but remember, look at his phone case, he's a little silly. I mean, look at the back of his phone, look at his walls, man. Like, this guy isn't meant to be taken seriously, and you're right, look at him. Here's Cloth Hanger JAYJA. Cloth Hanger JAYJA was was when quarantine hit during the 2020 period. So yeah, that's right. Look, this guy and this guy. Let's see, this quarantine hit and this guy got fucking crazy, right? And look, the arrows are connected, right? And he couldn't go on tour, so he made that shit on Zoom. And here's Tour JAYJA. This guy also went a little bonkers and created cheeky JAYJA, radical JAYJA. Radical JAYJA and Tour JAYJA were completely fucking crazy, and there came the birth of Mr. Vroom. Mr. Vroom had a short era, but he was there. He created a bunch of variants too. He created a bunch of other variants that as you can see here. Like one of my favorite being Yankee with no brim JAYJA, but the more important one that we're gonna focus on is this guy right here. Scope with a Glizzy JAYJA. Scope with a Glizzy JAYJA knew he was the fucking GOAT. Like, you can't compete with him, right? And this guy knew he was the GOAT now. This guy understood at some point that he had to be cool at some point. He had to he wanted some respect on his name, and so yeah, he has a gun now. And at some point he became JAYJA. Here's JAYJA. Here's a few prototypes of JAYJA. But this guy's name is Whiteable Yale mostly. He's still repping the Whiteable Yale name. And at some point he wanted to look out for his fans. He did a meet and greet in the forest, and here's Tree JAYJA. He wanted to meet and greet in the forest, right? At some point he got stuck in a tree, and people were praising him and stuff. But you see, this wasn't a time also where the Roman Empire was still a thing, and they got really mad at him for that, because like he knew he was way too goated. Even so, the Roman decided to almost literally kill him. The Roman decided to almost kill him, and before the execution day, he got to have his last supper. So here is seeing JAYJA, just having a dinner with his few companions, and the Romans didn't really explain on how they would kill JAYJA, and that's the thing. They brought him in a room, right? And apparently, from what I've heard, it's like an urban legend. No one really knew what happened to him, but it was like huge radiation things on him that would totally, like, almost like the elephant's foot like type of radiation, like demon core, whatever. And this is what happened to him. Distorted JAYJA. Here you can see he's in total agony. Here's agony JAYJA. But you can see right here, he's not dead yet. He survived. He pretended to be dead and then walked out. Here is Survivor JAYJA. But that fucking radiation thing didn't leave him normally. Here is Rabbit Hole JAYJA. Poor little JAYJA fell down the rabbit hole, and now he can't escape. The VTuber rabbit hole specifically, and now he can't escape. And then came along 2021. JAYJA decided this has to be a new start, and he had to look good too. So he wanted to look good for the new year that was coming. But as he didn't, but for what we can see here, JAYJA does not know how to dress. So we call this variant Tourist JAYJA, because this guy looks like he's on a fucking trip to Mexico. I mean, look at how he's dressed. He has a fedora. To create the year, as I would say, he wanted to learn some skills here and there, and so he learned a little bit of guitar. So here's Guitar JAYJA, but he realized that that dream of being able to play guitar was never gonna happen. So he threw that dream in the trash, and here comes Trash JAYJA, where he throws his dream in the trash. Now let's go back to him. He wanted to look good too, but this guy said, it's a 2021, I have to follow the trends. And here's Trendy JAYJA, where he followed a little bit of the trends of like having makeup and everything. It's not really a trend, but it's mostly he wanted to try, right? And it didn't look really good on him. And this guy, this variant, this branch of thing, fell on a rabbit hole where they became happy, right? What is that doing here? It's probably some of the powers that this guy possesses. Here's Cat JAYJA. This guy was a cat person for a while now. As you can see, this guy is a cat. This thing is a cat, right? And this variant loved cats, but at some point this guy had to go because some other people adopted him. And he decided, since I don't have a cat anymore, I have to follow another. I have to like another animal now, right? And so he did. He liked this animal so much that he became one himself. Here is Hawk JAYJA. He became a bird. He became one with the birds, with the sky, with the sun. Good air up high, good air. Now let's go back to Guitar JAYJA. Now Guitar JAYJA, some of them, as I said, couldn't follow their dream. They had to throw that shit in the trash. Trash JAYJA, right? I said that right, but I forgot to specify. Only a few ones of this branch, of this variant, because there's a multiple of them, right? They threw that shit in the trash. So there's a few of them. There's multiple of them that could follow their dreams, and they became Cowboy JAYJA. You know what I mean? With the Glocks and everything, with the guitar, and at some point they said, at some point they got tired of their lifestyle of being a cowboy, and so they said, I'm gonna be more trendy again, like this guy that we see here, or guy. I don't even know, but he wanted to become more with the trends, and so he bought himself a T-shirt. I mean, look at this guy. He bought himself a T-shirt, but of his favorite group, right? Because he was heavily inspired by some other people. So he bought this Egbert T-shirt, and then here's Egbert JAYJA. Egbert JAYJA didn't really evolve from here, but at least he knew how to dress. They knew how to dress. I'm sorry. This guy bought. Also, let's go back here. You've seen this image, right? Well, that's right. That's the thing, though. This guy bought this guitar. They bought they bought guitars, right, for them to play. But they realized They realized, holy shit, wait, I don't have any money now. How am I supposed to go on tours and everything? And so they had a job. They got themselves a job. Here's Metro JAYJA. Metro JAYJA left his job after realizing that he stayed there for a month at least. After they stayed there for at least a month, but then they left because their schedule was too busy. But at least they had the money they wanted to have, and here is the JAYJA. The JAYJA is the variant it's like Metro JAYJA but with way more money. And he abused of his power. He abused of all of his money, and it literally drove him insane, to the point where he tried to do a metamorph, like trying to transform into a literal fucking convertible. Yeah, this is 2021, right? He tried to transform into a convertible. Some of them did successfully. Did their transformation successfully, right? And so those guys were fascinated by those cars, and so they wanted to show their friends, right? They wanted to show their friends the car, and here is fascinated JAYJA. Yeah, here's comfortable JAYJA. Here's the JAYJA you already know. And then at some point, they smiled way too much. They couldn't their smile was way too big. They couldn't stop smiling. And at some point they wanted to go to the bathroom, and then they got locked up in there, and they had to make it their lifestyle, their habitat, right? So here's bathroom JAYJA. Bathroom JAYJA. The cameraman was supposed to be in a Zoom call, in a Zoom class, right? But instead he wanted to take those pictures because it was really urgent, or else they would go away by the window. And this was the last one remaining before all of them was gone. But sadly, after that, the cameraman was kicked out of the group because his camera wasn't open. Sad for him, but good for the lore. So let's go back to this guy, right? Because you can see here, there was some of the transformations didn't go as planned, and so he got corrupt, and so those JAYJAs got corrupted, and here we have corrupted JAYJA. Corrupted JAYJA was the beginning of an era, but a really strong and chaotic era. Their anger of being deformed like this, and not being able to pull any bitches at this point was incredible. His anger was way too huge for humans to understand. And so he would scribble as much as he could, until we have the first drawn JAYJA. It was a small prototype, basically. This JAYJA here is called Beta JAYJA. Alpha. Oh wait, no. Demo JAYJA. Demo. You know what I mean? Like a demonstration, right? Right. Don't think of it like the demo man or whatever. It's not that. But at some point, after many tests, Test JAYJA. His name is Test JAYJA, right? So I just remembered. I'm sorry. I have a dementia, right? But here, this guy, after so many tests of them trying to become a better thing, they became a better thing, and here is normal like the JAYJA we know as today, JAYJA. His name has nothing to it. It's JAYJA. It's just JAYJA. It's one of the first ones that we could find. And here comes 2021. Here's the part 2 of 2021. Now let's go back to JAYJA here. He was practicing talking here, as you can see, and he wanted to evolve a little bit. He wanted to become a better JAYJA, right? And so you can see here he became. I hate this fucking app. What is this again? There you go. He wanted to move a little bit. Some of them didn't want to change, but wanted to move to a better environment, so they became whiteboard JAYJA. But then this thing, they wanted to have those whiteboard JAYJAs wanted to have a little more color, right? A little more something to them, and so there was JAYJA. There was JAYJA. But as you can see here, who's pinging me? Okay, so here, like, this was a real JAYJA. As you can see, this guy doesn't have a body like the other one, right? But it's totally normal. It's like a normal human, right? As you can see, like, there's short ones and tall ones. This was more of a short one. The cameraman, at the time, couldn't get his hands on a tall one. But it's alright. He's still pretty huge. Here's a few other variants that has. By the way, here is Afton JAYJA. This variant hated kids. At least this one really hated kids, and those variants just embraced it. Now here's a little something that happened, right? Here's a little something that happened now. You see this? This is a character called So the Funk, right? There was some mutation here and there, right, of that character, and there became Soda Crunch. That was a very low variant. It's not that much of a big variant, but it was pretty. It's pretty hostile for what it is. The picture is really low quality since it was taken instant before the death of our cameraman at the time. And now, you see, those two the JAYJAs and Soda Crunch made a variant together called Yandere JAYJA. Now, Yandere JAYJA, basically, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's a fucking JAYJA, but it's a girl, right? Now, let's go back to this guy now, because we figured out the whiteboard JAYJA branch. Let's go back to another branch with this JAYJA. This JAYJA wanted to evolve a little more, and so he wanted to morph again, metamorphosis again. Sorry, I'm not really good at English. I mean, I'm a little French. So here is Beamy JAYJA. He wears the Beamy so that he could transform. This is the thing that makes him transform, right? And so with this, he could become something else, right? But at some of the Beamy JAYJAs didn't transform really well and had to live with this thing on, right? And they became Ultimate Beamy JAYJA, basically like a Beamy JAYJA, but with this full power obtained. A couple of the JAYJAs that came here was Pointing JAYJA. Basically, we call him Pointing JAYJA because that's how they were. They were like, oh my god, I'm way taller now, I'm way cooler now, and they're like, while they were looking at themselves in the mirror. So like, we either call him Mirror JAYJA or Pointing JAYJA, but us at the laboratory, we call them Mirror JAYJA, basically. There's a lot of Mirror JAYJA's variants, but this is the one that stuck with us the most. Some of them didn't really. Some of the others didn't really work out for them. The transformation, right? And so they became Blurry JAYJA. Blurry JAYJA was like there was something that happened wrong with them mid through the transformation, the metamorphosis, and so some of them prospered, and some of them didn't. So this guy and this guy accidentally made another variant called JAYJA. Those JAYJAs were here to attend the graduation stream of Kiryu Koko. Basically, as you remember, he fell into the VTuber rabbit hole, right? And this was his fit for the day of the graduation, since she wasn't going to be there. By the way, 07 to her. Now, let's see the other variants that this guy has. He has something here. When the metamorphosis goes wrong, it made low res JAYJA, because now they're isn't as beautiful and as pretty as they want it to be, right? And so there was multiple variants. Here is listen, okay, so there's a lot of things to go on now. Let's look at this one. So this guy wanted to see have a better filter for the people to look at him with, and so low res wanted a higher res, but while trying to have a higher res, it kind of failed and had a different filter on it. And here is Zoom and JAYJA. Now Zoom and JAYJA, as you can tell, he doesn't have that much of a weird. He has a pretty deformed face, and it's because of the camera that had a. It was because of the mutation. There was a little mutation that made him when close to people pointy, if you allow me to say. And there was a like this JAYJA right here, those JAYJA right here, they started a brand new like era. This is another era, right? And there was a lot of them. Now this JAYJA wanted a fix it, like they wanted to. I didn't like their face, right? So basically those JAYJAs, some of them didn't like what they looked like, but some of them did, and some of them did really prospered. Here's the Crimson Chin JAYJA with his big chin, and he was just like living the moment right here, right? And he just lived and lived more and more. Here's Pufferfish JAYJA, right? And he was so surprised with himself. He was so happy about himself that at some point at some point he hungered. He wanted power because he knew he had that much power. He didn't know he has this much power, and he just wanted more. He feasted for more. Oh yeah, by the way, this guy had another variant called Fuckboy JAYJA. And so this guy just simply wanted to have more power, and so he started causing a little massacre here and there. Here is Vor JAYJA, instant before eating our other cameraman. Rest in peace to him. May his soul rest in peace. This guy, okay, now let's go back a little bit. You see Yandere JAYJA. Why is it low res now? Oh, who gives a shit actually? Who actually gives a shit? Yandere JAYJA had another variant called like Glasses JAYJA. They found them after digging for like archaeologist thing, like project or whatever, where they found bones of the ancient JAYJA, like their fossil, and they found glasses. And so they tried to put them on, and it became like Glasses JAYJA. And so this Glasses JAYJA and Surprise JAYJA, Glasses JAYJA and Pufferfish JAYJA made this variant called Pennywise JAYJA. We call him Pennywise JAYJA because of his big smile with his underlip that looks that looks exactly like the Pennywise clown. His smile, basically, and his eyes too. And this guy got as the years went by, this guy got pretty fucked up throughout the years, because his power was running out, and then he started deflating a little bit, and there became Filler JAYJA. Filler JAYJA didn't like his look, and so he wanted to hide his face as much as possible, and so he put glasses and a mask on, and here is Lennon JAYJA. Now Lennon JAYJA, throughout the years, he wanted to like make himself look better, and so he started selling drugs for a living, and he got a lot of money for that, and then he fixed his eyes and his face. But this is him. Here is Narco JAYJA, And this you can see with this bag here and there with his face. YouTube, don't ban me. This is like this is bath salt. YouTube, don't ban me. This is bath salt. But yeah, at some point, this guy got really. This guy fixed his face with the money he had, and then he became swagged JAYJA. Swag JAYJA looked good. He has the outfit on, the fucking everything on, man. Like, he looked good. He looked good. But if we go back to... Now, let's go back here again. Let's talk about those who didn't like the way they looked. The way they... Some of them didn't like the way they look and wanted to fix their face with other, like... Other manners, other ways to fix, you know? And so they got a job, and here is McDonald's JAYJA. McDonald's JAYJA wanted to go and fix their face by getting money from their job, but it was really hard for them. And here's a picture of JAYJA. Just JAYJA sitting in the employee's bathroom thinking about his life choices. Now, let's go back here. You see the arrow here, right? Well, let's go back here. Some of them didn't want to do anything and wanted to cope. They wanted to a coping mechanism for their face, and so... Well, I don't know why they thought of that, but their coping mechanism was doing drugs. Was doing illegal stuff. And here is Wasted JAYJA. Wasted JAYJA was in tears after, like, trying to cope for a living, right? He made 2 variants. Now let's go back here when I told you low-res JAYJA made this thing called... Okay, so he made 2 variants. Let's talk about this one for a second. Here's Walls JAYJA. Walls JAYJA is basically living in people's walls, stealing their money and everything. And he also contributed to the making of JAYJA, because he as if you can't see him, if you can't see really well, he's in this vent right here. You can see him a little bit, like right here, right? This is like this is Walls JAYJA right here. He's living right here. Now let's go back here. This guy was low res. How they turned out here. Well, they had another variant, right? They had another variant, and it was Flash JAYJA. The camera still not as good as before, right? But then this guy and this guy, they made a variant together called Scream JAYJA. This is him in pain after realizing... this is him wasted after realizing his flash was still turned on, but instead of looking away from the cameraman with the flash on, he just looked at him and screamed. He was in pain, and now they were blind, and that's why they were extinct. Now, let's go back to London JAYJA. Here you can see there's another variant here, and it's those who didn't became narcos. It's those who didn't become narcos, I'm sorry. It's those who didn't become narcos, right? And they were living a happy lifestyle. They realized that, like, everything is fine, actually. Like, you don't need to get money to be happy. As you can see, it's Museum JAYJA. Just being happy with his thumbs up. But then came 2022, one of the biggest years. Even though we're only halfway through it, there's a lot of things to cover. So here is before 2022 comes in. You see this guy's beard? It's ugly, it's raspy, it's like dirty and shit. But then boom. This was beard JAYJA, no beard JAYJA. Shaved JAYJA, if you will. Shaved JAYJA embraced the fact that he didn't have a beard, right? And so he became Baby JAYJA. He also had another variant called Bean JAYJA, which were the ones who didn't like the fact that their beards were shaved. He was trying his best to grow it back, and you can see his face reddens as he tries to, like, grow it back by imploding himself. But let's go back here to Baby JAYJA. You know, through the shaving, there was a little something something in their thing, and Baby JJ got a little corrupted, and he became Winter JJ. As you can see, Winter JJ had to escape in the wild. They had to escape in the wild because they were getting chased out for not being as cool as the other ones, and so they became Winter JJ. So, what did Winter JJ do? Well, he was living happily in the fresh and freezing cold. But as you can see here, you can see that he's not really happy. So here, this is stubborn JJ. He was like the cameraman that we had for this picture wanted him to like, hey, smile for the picture, but he didn't want to because he was living peacefully in the winter. But then the cameraman deranged him. Fuck. And so he became confused. He became confused to like, am I still gonna have to like stay outside of the world or be normal like the other ones? So here's confused JJ. But there was multiple variants, multiple of them, for the JJ here, right? Some of them went back into the normal lives, and some of them really, well, they went back into their normal life. Some of them, and they had multiple careers. Some of them became Big Money JJ. Big Money JJ was a rapper. They were rappers, right? And here is J Money. Here's Big J Money. Their album, like their song covers, right? Shout out to our cameraman Sakat for this one. Sakat did a really good job with finding them. J Money here. You got his Egbert shirt here. Parental advisory. Like, this guy was like going somewhere, but he was really aggressive. Here is Judging JJ. This guy really here was really mean to others. He was really mean to others, and that became Low Tier JJ. Low Tier JJ was the peak of the anger, the peak of anger, the peak of rage, the peak of hatred, the peak of like everything negative. But you see, Low Tier JJ was really mean to others, but mostly we're gonna focus on the other variant, Hungry JJ. Hungry JJ was we thought that like running J, like he was running, right? He's running. Hungry JJ is running. We thought it was like he was a really hostile beast, but really he wasn't that much. He was just in his feelings. Apparently, and here's a little proof here. This is Misery JJ. Misery JJ here was, as you can see here, he was thinking about his life. He remembered being conflicted, misusing his influence, abusing his power full of resentment that turned into a deep depression. Found himself screaming in a hotel room. He didn't want to self-destruct. The evils of Lucy was all around him, and so he went running for answers. And you can see him running for the so-called answers. You can see him thinking about his answers, and like he went running here. He's in a literal freaking field, like he's asking literally why. He's going to look for answers, right? Let's go back to Low Tier JJ here. And no, before we go back to Low Tier JJ, we have to talk about another thing. Let's talk about the other variants of Confused JJ. There was the other variants of Bad Guy JJ. Here's another variant of Laura's JJ that we called 144 JJ. And here is Dougal JJ. Now, they didn't have any variancy of them either. This guy, though, you wonder, how does he come from that even though he's not zoomed in? That's because he was also working with Winter JJ, right? they came back a little bit and they said, let's make one that can live in both climate, and Dougal JAYJA came to a thing. But this guy, he was happy too, and he said, you know, maybe living in winter isn't that much of a thing, right? So they made like some of them send like they made some of them go to the real world by themselves without having any other society tell them, come back, we need you, right? And so here is Summer JAYJA. Yeah, because people like summer, right? You see Baby JAYJA. Okay, let's go back to Baby JAYJA here. Baby JAYJA was really sad, and as he grew up, the power of the ancient ones was with him. The powers of the cloud. You remember the guy that the branch that fell because of the Roman Empire hitting them? Well, this guy had the power of the Christ within him, and he made Jesus JAYJA. If we go back again now to this guy, which is going to help us in the future, he made another variant apart from Baby JAYJA. He made Bean JAYJA. Now, Bean JAYJA didn't like the way he looked, and so he tried to grow his beard back by imploding himself. This is Bean JAYJA trying to implode himself, right? Like he was at the beginning, but this is imploding JAYJA. This is imploding JAYJA. He was at the limit. He was like right before reaching the beard growing up, and you can see it worked. Look at his beard; it grew back. But look what happened after that. He exploded. Here's exploding JAYJA. Now he had a bunch of other this guy had a bunch of other variants, and we're here to talk about them. So this guy, after exploding, he thought he looked good. He thought he looked okay, but this whole phase of imploding to get his beard back really played on his self-esteem, on their self-esteem. You see, some of them were happy to have their beard, right, and whatever, and they wanted the world to know. They were like extroverted and introverted, right, JAYJAs. And so here is FaceTime JAYJA. FaceTime JAYJA basically wanted to let the world know that, like, I did it, like he did it. He grew his beard back. But the other introverts called Hoodie JAYJA. You see them like this. The photo quality is really bad here because they were in the complete dark. Didn't like how they look, so we had to use like a sort of like special flash to get them, because if we gave them that, they would have PTSD. So we use this sort of like pictures and like a bunch of filters. And so this guy finally came out. One of the cameramen that we used for taking those pictures accidentally used a flash, right? And so here's what it looked like. Here is PTSD JAYJA, remembering all what that happened. And since then, this species went extinct. Now let's go back to Bean JAYJA. Bean JAYJA, some of them really just completely, like, some of them just completely gave up on the dream of growing their beard back, and so they became Pain JAYJA. As you can see, you can hear JAYJA say, "So that I don't feel the pain and sadness in my empty heart." As you can see, he was a little bit talking about his feelings, and we caught him. We took a picture in the middle of him. You see, he's really hiding the pain here with his beautiful smile, but inside of him was a void, a deep void. He's also Summer JAYJA helped making this variant. He had a bunch of other variants. We're gonna talk, and one of the variants is we're gonna talk about here. Chat Bubble JAYJA. As you can see, It's more of a chat bubble right here, right? That was popping up. That's how he would talk, right? Even though his mouth was wide open, he couldn't talk. He had to, yeah. And here's chat bubble JJ. He became the chat. He became the way he talked, and now that gave him a voice, right? But you see, he was so pixelated. At some point, he tried to get out of the chat bubble, but it really turned out bad for him. And he became... I think his name was Pixel JJ, if I remember correctly. You see, now let's go back to low tier JJ. Low tier JJ and low res JJ made this, you see, he was living peacefully even though he didn't like the way he looked. And low tier JJ said, "You ugly shit, and I'm gonna eradicate every single one of you." And so, here is Pixel JJ screaming for his life. Here is and JJ. You see, no. His name was Apocalypse JJ. Now, some of them survived, and some of them succumbed. Succumbed these nuts. Some of those that survived got their quality better, but they got their mouth stuck like this forever. And so they didn't like it. They couldn't eat. They couldn't drink. They couldn't eat properly. So most of them choked and died, and that's why there's no variants of them. If we go to the one that succumbed, they were sent to personal hell space, all of them, and so that's why they were bright red. Here is Red JJ. He was living in hell. He was happy a little bit because we caught him. We caught him talking with the other ones, but then. He realized at some point they looked at the big red light that was being casted toward, like that was being projected towards them, and this guy realized, wait, it's dying out. The light is dying out. What should we do? And then we called those like the era of like we called those the oh no's JJ. Who's paying me? And so when the lights died out, it became Darkness JJ. Darkness JJ was living without. He didn't have any feelings left. He didn't have any feelings left for him to. He couldn't know how to feel since the light was gone for him. It was sad, but then at some point he got into a big burst of like rage, and he wanted to like make his own light, so he charged up his energy and made light, but the light was way too bright for him, and so he tried covering his face with his hand, but somehow why he did this this little hand thing, right, of like rock and roll or whatever, I don't know, and that's why we call him Emo JJ. Now let's go back to the other variant of Pain JJ. Pain JJ wanted to have he didn't like the fact that like he was jealous. He felt jealousy, and so he felt jealousy. Yeah, that's right. He felt jealousy that the others could grow a beard but not him, and so he wanted to rebel himself against everyone. Here is JJ with his big sword. Here's Sword JJ, about to go and fight the others for his life, right? But some of them weren't strong enough, and when they were sent to war, they realized that like the people that were like that was like managing the war realized, wait, you're weak. Here's a water bottle that you can fight. And it was like, what the hell? So here's bottle JJ, and this is Suicidal Bottle JJ. This is him. This is one of those of the JJs here that tried to like end their fucking life because they realized I did all this work for nothing, right? And this Suicidal Bottle JJ became this Wicked JJ because everyone knows that I don't think you can kill yourself with a fucking water bottle, and so their face became deformed again. And here's Wicked JJ. Now I want to talk about the two that we need to focus on the most, and it's Sword JAYJA and Wicked JAYJA. And here we enter the second part of 2022. We enter the second part of 2022. Wicked JAYJA and Sword JAYJA were bullying and fighting the JAYJAs, right? The other JAYJAs that were completely normal. And so this JAYJA decided, no, wait, I like, you can't do this, right? Like you can't do this. Like, this is me right here, right? I said, like, those two can't like, they can't stop, like, they won't stop bullying me for a while. I have to, like, rebel myself. I have to stand up for myself. But I realized I wasn't that strong to compete against a goddamn sword and some distortion. So I said, you know, I'm gonna make this a big project. And so here's a prototype I made. Here is prototype. Here's rough JAYJA, rough copy JAYJA. Rough copy JAYJA was the start, the beginning of my plan. It was awesome. You know, I did them on a drawing, and then some of the drawings, right, came to life. And here is Meat Canyon JAYJA, and then they became, and because of the distortion, they became Gremlin JAYJA. But at some point it went to a complete chaos. Like, this is the era that we call the Brazilian Pandemonium incident. Like, this is complete madness, chaos. There's not a lot of things that you can understand here. And some of then there was like new JAYJAs that came out of here, and they were pretty much distorted. One of them was Funny JAYJA. Funny JAYJA were the one that were like better looking throughout the incident, the disaster that happened. And since it was the apocalypse, their whole like country, their whole city, their whole home were completely destroyed because of like all this war that was going on around because of Sword JAYJA and Wicked JAYJA. And so there was other variants, right? So some of them were here is Soldier JAYJA. Soldier JAYJA screaming stop the war. He was manifesting at the war. He went to war and says like these people, like, this war needs to stop. Why would it, like, it doesn't help anything, and like violence isn't the answer. You see violence right here. It's not the answer. Some of them that couldn't fight decided, I need to make money with the things I have, and some of them had their jobs or everything, but the most popular ones were VTuber JAYJA. This is VTuber JAYJA here with his little ribbon and everything. At some point, they couldn't make money anymore since their fans was uninterested, so they had to start an OnlyFans account. And here's Slut JAYJA. Here's Slut JAYJA with their OnlyFans account and everything. And yeah, like, life didn't really turn out for them since OnlyFans banned sexual content. So yeah, basically, yeah, that's it. Now let's go back to the Brazilian Pandemonium incident and see the ones who didn't really survive that. You see, this guy didn't really survive. He's all blasted, and so we call him Failure JAYJA because he failed to survive the incident, the Brazilian Pandemonium incident. And so he became Soulless JAYJA. The only thing he felt was sadness. He didn't like the way he looked. He didn't like the fact that like the others would survive and the others that didn't. And so, see here, this is those who this is Faded JAYJA. This is those who didn't like their look and wanted to escape from reality. So this is basically those who kept coping too hard, but the other ones became extremely violent. They wanted to say, I want to be like them and I'm mad. And so there was revenge. There was huge revenge. Look at all the blood on their arms and hands. they're huge. Like, they were a big part of this war, right? They were like a big part of this war, and basically that's why the war started. One of them basically it was only that and that, right? You know, like stopping the war for because of who? This guy. He wanted to fight. He learned about this guy, like the JAYJAs, and wanted to fight them, and so they went to war. But while the JAYJAs was preparing prototype JAYJA, it was coming to life. Here is planned JAYJA. And now you may be wondering, what's the arrow leads up to? They planned something all this time. They took inspiration from this guy, and then they made the beginning of the end of the war. Here is plastic JAYJA. This is a whole month of preparation and working on this. Like, this is a whole month together building this huge thing for war. And here is, after 2 months of working, maybe three months I think, here is brown paper JAYJA. This was the second stage of the real weapon thing that they were planning. And after several other months of hard work, here is real JAYJA. Real JAYJA is the magnum opus of the Brazilian Pandemonium incident. I didn't talk about the war really. The Brazilian Pandemonium incident led up to the Brazilian Pandemonium War, basically. So, for the war, this man, he was sent to the other JAYJA's house, and he was well hidden. And at some point, the other JAYJA found out, and they had a little fight together. But he remembered like what this guy said, stopping the war. So, stopping the war for what? Let's remember here. Those assholes wanted to have, like, hold on. They were sent to war, right? For what? Because they were jealous. They were jealous of the others that couldn't grow a beard. They were jealous of the others that could grow a beard because they couldn't grow a beard, right? And so that's what made them fight. That's what basically started, like, why they started bullying the other ones, right? You see this guy, you may be thinking, why does he have a beard here and a mustache? Well, that's because that's too much coping. He was become crazy. It grew back while he was going crazy, but he didn't even realize. So they realized, like, beard or no beard, like, why would we fight? Why would we fight for, like, one race to only survive, right? Can't we just become, like, can't we just live with each other, right? And he realized, yeah, why are we fighting? Like, it's just gonna grow back anyway. This guy said, yeah. And then they became friends. The races became friends. And this is where the story ends. And this is what my life has been. This is just the whole story of my life and how I was here. Honestly, thank you for listening to this whole story and everything. And I want to thank you for 100 subscribers. I know I'm late, but it's fine. But I wanted to say, this has been a wild ride for now. Those past 5 years, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what the future is gonna bring me and what the future is gonna bring you. I want to say 100. I think I'm at 112 subscribers. I'm not even sure, but I think I'm really surprised that 112 people like what I'm doing. What I like my stupid I'm having a speech here. Can you just? I want to say, like, as I said, I'm really surprised that a bunch of people follows my channel. A bunch, like, all those people like what I do and like my content and what I do for them. I'm glad that I'm able to entertain all those people. And yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you from the bottom of my heart. Because, like, yeah, it's just because that's literally I'm able to do what I like, and it makes me really happy to think that you guys like what I like to do too. So I want to say thank you, and on this, I'm gonna end the video. Thank you, guys.